You're watching Mint Wide Angle. I'm Anindya Chakravarti, and today I'm going to talk about that political dynamite, the price of onions. Why have they shot up like this? Well, blame it on the rain gods. It rained in Maharashtra in October and wiped out about 50 to 70% of the onion crop there. Why should Maharashtra matter this much? That's because that state supplies about 30% of all the onions that we eat throughout the year. In fact, Maharashtra is one of the few states of the country where onions are also grown in the monsoon Kharif season, which is why you get some fresh onions from Maharashtra in the last 2 months of the year. Everywhere else, onions are grown as a winter crop, which is why we get a steady, fresh supply of onions at low prices between January to May. After that, June onwards, we start eating onions that are stored by big wholesale traders. There's a small supply which comes in from Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu sometime in August and September. But the main supply in the last 2-3 months of the year comes from Maharashtra. So you can imagine what havoc of crop failure in Maharashtra causes across India. On an average, an Indian family eats about 4 to 5 kilos of onions in a month. So when onion prices shoot up from 20-30 rupees a kilo to suddenly to 150-160 rupees a kilo, that's about 500 rupees per month being spent on onions alone. And that's not pocket change for most Indian families. Actually, the two extremes of these prices, 20-30 rupees in the first 5 months of the year and then shooting up to 150-160 when there's an onion shortage, these are both problems. The first for onion farmers and the second for onion consumers. India produces about 23 to 24 million tons of onions every year, and that's about 25% of the global supply of onions. But we consume only about 14-15 million domestically, which is about 2/3 of the total onions being produced in the country. So if you look at it, onion farmers lose money when there's a glut of supply in the first 5 months, or they just barely make up their investments. Large wholesale traders, on the other hand, make a killing. Why? Because they buy onions at rock bottom prices when there's a lot of supply, sometimes as low as 1 rupee a kilo, which we've seen this year, and then they store it. From their stores, they release onions in a regulated manner throughout the year. So right at the time when onion farmers are losing money, we still pay about 20-30 rupees a kilo, which is sometimes 10 to 20 times what the onion farmer gets. Farmers do get better prices in the winter months, but when there's a crop failure, that time farmers lose as well. Why does that happen? For instance, this year when Maharashtra, where farmers have lost about 50 to 70% of their crop, even if they've ended up getting 2 to 3 times what they usually get at the onion mandi, they've barely made up their costs. The wholesale traders, however, have made a killing. Why? Because they bought the entire harvest from the farmers at relatively low prices, reduced the supply into the market, and once the prices have gone up, they've increased the supply. This difference is what they're making, even though farmers are not gaining a penny from this. So how can the government solve this problem of this fluctuating onion prices? The first thing to do is to give a minimum support price to farmers, which will ensure that they get a good return on their investments and they can invest more on onion farming and also regulate that onion farming. The second thing to do, of course, is because when you give them an MSP, what happens? Prices could rise, is to break this onion trader cartel, which actually makes most of the money. One way to do that is to encourage onion farming cooperatives. Just as we've seen in milk, look at Amul, look at Mother Dairy. There are great examples of how cooperative farms can actually revolutionize supply of vegetables. And finally, the government needs to keep about 20,000 tons of onion as a buffer which it can release to the market when the crop fails like this. That will be more or less enough to regulate onion prices at times like these. 3 steps that look easy but are tough because they require political will. Onion consumers are many, onion farmers are few, and onion traders are even fewer. Onion consumers have the votes, onion traders have the money. It's the onion farmer who gets squeezed in between.